Welcome to the Encore today. We are back for the fall of 2021. It has been a minute, Wes.
Been a long
Welcome back since we've been here.
Thank you.
Our summers here are just, I don't know, they're scattered with different ministry things and all of that.
Been a huge summer.
Yeah.
Great.
So we take a little bit of time off with the Encore, but it's really
We're
good to be back.
I like it. Yeah, I've been
back
missing
also in John 2, where I think we're going to finish it pretty soon here.
Yeah. Someday.
Couple of months.
Within a year.
Yeah.
No, within a couple months, I think.
Yeah, no promises before Christmas.
Promises.
I was looking at it going,
before Christmas.
No,
that's aggressive. But
no. Yeah, a couple months. Okay, a couple of things we want to get out of the way. First is we did through 10-9 Ministries, a Youper tour. A lot of people had questions about that. There's been a little bit of glimpses of videos and recaps. I've had a lot of people come up to me and ask questions about that. So just to answer everything, we're not going to talk about that on here. We are going to have a separate release of, I'll actually be meeting with Wes and Neil in the same outfits, you'll notice.
Just a few minutes from now.
Yeah, just a few minutes from now we'll be wearing the same outfits. About what that was, what that entailed, everything, all those cities that happened.
Yeah,
so
how
many
it
questions.
went. Yeah, that'll be great.
So we won't get into that today. Look for that release later this next week or whatever. Okay. All right. So last season. There you go.
Encore season.
We started to get into a little bit more, we'll say, personal questions. We kind of we used to do some dumb fun ones, sports and stuff here and there, trying to get a little bit more personal behind our lives and things of that nature. Hopefully there's some getting to know us along with, I don't know, potential teaching along with it too.
Yeah.
So we talked about our call to ministry, our families, our kids, our wives, the call to the church here and all of that. So there is something very heavy out there right now that everybody knows about. And so instead of just ignoring it, we want to bring it up and talk about it because we get these questions all the time.
Every day.
Every day. So
it's every day.
We get so many questions right now specifically about, could you write me an exemption letter for my school or my employer for vaccination, right? So let's talk about that. Where do you stand? We can both talk about it. Where do you stand with vaccinations? And let's first answer the question with...
You asked that so matter-of-factly.
Yeah,
That's
I know. You like that?
Cultural bomb.
It's huge.
It's good, though. It's good. All right. So
let's just start with us as a church. When people ask us, would you write an exemption for the vaccination for my school or my employer? What is our response?
We have a letter. We have a letter that in the letter it says that the Rock Church. Okay, I'm gonna mess up the words, but
it's okay.
Takes no official position on this person's stance on vaccinations, whoever this person may be, because I don't know the authentic motive of any person's heart. I don't know if their reason is legitimate to them, if they've manipulated something. I don't know. So we don't stand behind anyone's assertion of where they stand.
Yeah.
However, we would say also in the letter that if this person has an authentic conviction about a violation of their body as the temple of the Holy Spirit, we have some scripture references, because of this particular vaccination, that could be considered a compromise of their faith.
Yeah.
We cannot state whether that is for them or not, and it won't be for every Christian, but it might be for person A.
Yeah.
So that's our admittedly non-committal stance, because I don't know where that person stands. But could it be? I suppose it could be.
Right. And we've given a lot of those letters out.
Those letters, we just give it out. It's a generic thing.
And I've said to many people too, your school or your employer might look at this and actually say, this isn't a real exemption letter. They've said nothing, which is partially true. We are trying to leave it in your hands to say, like, if it is truly your conviction, and we don't want people to manipulate the situation either and just get a free pass because you don't prefer to.
Or you don't like your American freedoms being violated. That is not a spiritual matter.
Exactly.
It's not.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not. And it is not the fight a Christian has.
Right.
People want it to be. It isn't. We need to fight for our God-given freedoms. That's not true.
All right. Let's go a little bit deeper here with it. Should everybody get vaccinated? Where are you at on the actual vaccine? We'll talk about the COVID vaccination.
I personally, it does not bother me. I'm indifferent to it.
Talk about why. Why are you indifferent to it? Because many people are on strong sides either way, right? So they would expect, where does Wes stand
Okay,
on
when you're
this?
asking me, what are you asking me? The fact that they mandated it or the needle itself, the contents of the vaccination itself? Those are two different questions.
Those are two different questions. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the vaccination itself,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can talk about the second part.
I wouldn't have a problem getting it.
Yeah.
I just don't care is the answer. I don't
Mhm.
have some big, long theological position on it.
Mm-hmm.
I talk on a cell phone. I think it's putting radiation into my brain. When I was growing up as a kid, I was vaccinated for other things.
Mhm.
I didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
I have eaten the amount of high fructose corn syrup in my life is in the hundreds of gallons. I mean, it's like, come on, I don't put this on anybody else. You're asking me. I just don't care, man. I guess if I need a reason, like if I can't travel, if I can't get on a plane, if I can't go preach in Cuba unless I have a vaccination card, I'm going to go get it. I'm going to go get it. And so people say, well, faith over fear, trust the Lord, right? Why don't you trust the Lord? I do trust the Lord. I had COVID. I was unvaccinated. I trusted the Lord. If I lived, I lived. If I died, I died.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But why doesn't it run the other way?
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't it run the other way? I trust the Lord when I get in my car, highly dangerous. My motorcycle is infinitely more dangerous than my car or a vaccination. I ride it all the time.
Yep.
And what do? Is it dangerous? Yeah. Could it kill me? Yeah. I trust the Lord. So why don't I trust the Lord with the unknowns of the vaccination as well?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nobody has to have my view. I trust the Lord either way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wouldn't be getting it to necessarily avoid the COVID. I would just get it because there's some limitation that would hinder me from doing the work of the Lord or traveling with my family somewhere. I'm just not going to live like that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it compromises my faith. For me, it does not. I don't consider it a violation of the temple of the Holy Spirit in my life. So it's not they're not asking me to compromise my faith. So I just,
I think that's the biggest question as a pastor. People are asking you, okay,
mm-hmm.
You're being mandated, or somebody at a school is being mandated to take this.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I think it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's weird as an American. I don't like it as a man. I don't like it as an American. I'm an independent person. I like freedom. I like the government to leave me alone. I don't think we should have to wear seatbelts. I don't think we should have to, do a lot of things, pay taxes for certain things. I don't like that stuff. But that's only in my humanity.
Yeah.
That is not a violation of anything the Lord has called me to as a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So I lay all that down. I put my seatbelt on because the law has told me to.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't, I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. People can argue the health risks of that. I'm not here to do that. I'm just saying I wouldn't. The only reason I do is because the government said so. I pay my taxes because the government said so. Because as a Christian, I submit to the ordinances of the government until it compromises my faith or calls me to idolatry or violates the temple of the Holy Spirit in some way. I'm obviously not going to do that. But you tell me stop preaching Jesus, I'm not going to obey.
Yeah.
If I worked at a company that was 100 employees or more, and the mandate came down, the Bible says I'm to work a job to provide for my family. For me personally,
you think you'd do it?
I would just go do it.
Yeah.
I'm not telling anyone to do that.
Right,
I'm just saying maybe it's helpful if they hear where we're at or I'm at, or I would just go do it. And I wouldn't like it. If the point is this is annoying as an American, believe me, I agree with you. But the Christian mission is not to fight to preserve America or defend our freedoms. That's not the Christian mission. So I'm not going to get in that water.
Yeah.
If the airlines require it, I'm not driving everywhere. I'm going to go get the shot and I'm going to get on a plane.
You're not going to drive to Cuba?
Yeah, I'm not. So I'd be happy to hear where you're at with it. I think I know, but we haven't talked at huge length. What do you have to say?
It's very similar in the sense that, I have to. We all have to try to separate. Like, is this an American freedom or is this a biblical conviction? It is a huge difference, and I think we sometimes assume because we have American privileges that we throw those into like our spiritual convictions.
Okay.
I really do struggle with understanding that, and so nobody wants to be told what to do at all.
Right.
But at the same time, we're told to go 70 miles an hour on I-75. Nobody thinks too much of that.
You do it.
It's like, okay, whatever.
You do it. You pay your taxes. You pay your tabs on your license plate. You register your car. You register your gun.
Yeah.
You do it.
Yeah. And I'm in a similar boat where I have no opposition to the vaccination. I had COVID, so part of me believes that there is some sort of natural immunity.
Same.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say these things out loud. I'm not a doctor.
Well, no, you're a human. There's obviously some natural immunity,
Yeah.
whether it's against every strain or for however long. I don't know. I'm not going to be
Right.
one of these people that thinks they know everything. But
Yeah.
obviously, you were sick, and you won't get sick from it for a time.
For a time, yeah. For a time. And yeah, and if if they said you can't fly on a plane or look, my brother lives in New York City. If I go visit him, I would highly consider getting it because
You want to go to a restaurant?
yeah, I can't even eat in a restaurant, and you can't go anywhere. And so I'm like, is it worth it to go and to do nothing? I don't know.
So this is the thing. So the opposing side will say that you're being they're shocked. I mean, people are shocked when I say this, and you are saying this.
Yeah.
Because they thought we were in their mind, they thought we were bolder people. They thought we were stronger or had stronger convictions, would be their words.
Yeah.
To which I would say this is not a matter of biblical conviction whatsoever.
It's not.
This has no bearing on boldness as a Christian. And so they're saying you're being sheep and all of these kind of things. And meaning you just go with the flow, you do what you're told. And I would say,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it unknowingly. I see the erosion of society. I see the infringement of the government on personal freedoms. I see all that. What they can't get their mind around is that I will not engage the fight to preserve America for America's sake.
Yeah.
That's not my fight. I'm a citizen of another land. Do I regret from a comfort standpoint, from a financial prosperity standpoint, all of these things, if they're going to take that away? 100%. Not my fight as a Christian. It's not anybody's fight as a Christian. If you think it's your fight, it's not about the gospel. It's not about the mission. It's not about the lost.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a annoying part of that, but it's all in my flesh. So I lay it down. But I'm not under a mandate right now.
Yeah, that is
So,
true. We have not been personally mandated.
Right.
And I get it.
I'm not under a mandate. But I'd probably end up getting it for some reason anyway. It's probably going to be travel. It's going to be something like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, it's good. That's good. I think we've talked about it enough. So
All right.
There we have it. All right. We'll get into John chapter 17. So this is the beginning of Jesus' prayer to the Father. Several verses, which you just touched on this past weekend. So this is a question I've had often, and I'm sure you have too. Why would Jesus, who is God, right, obviously, why would he have to pray to the Father? I've had people ask this because we don't see God praying. Who would he pray to, right?
Yeah.
God the Father. So why would Jesus have to pray to the
I
Father?
mean, you and I were talking about this earlier, so I'll give you credit for this. I mean,
Okay.
I think you're correct. There is a submission within the Trinity that's hard to understand, impossible to fully understand.
Yeah, that's good.
But when we see Jesus' life on earth, he is 100% in submission to the Father. He defers to the Father. He obeys the Father's will. He said, "I only say what my Father told me to say and do what my Father told me to do. I've accomplished the work my Father sent me for." All these things, and I think that demonstrates his not only humanity but his submission in order of the Trinity to the Father.
Yeah.
And that is visible in that prayer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know everything about his intentions behind it, but I see him teaching his disciples, that includes us, teaching, his followers like you said, how to be submissive and how to go to the Father and have a humble heart about it and not just have this arrogant sense of I can take care of things. So he taught his disciples how to pray. He's teaching us how to pray in this sense, and eventually you'll get there. He also prays for us, for the believers. But okay, so kind of speaking of that, he says some funny words in here that may think people reading it at first would go, this is interesting.
Yeah.
It says, what verse is that? Glorify, Father, the hours come, glorify your Son, that the Son may glorify you. Okay, so we kind of talked about this, but like if you read this at first glance, it has an arrogant sound to it. It would be like, not the same, but glorify me, Lord. Like, what is that? Sounds, it would be weird for us to do that.
It'd be
Why
weird.
is it not arrogant for Jesus to do that? Why does he do
Well,
this?
I mean, the short answer is because he's the fullness of God and worthy of all praise. And, apart from me, I share my glory with no man, all these things. So, like, he's the only one worthy of it and most worthy of it on the cross.
Yeah.
Like that. But apart from that, I mean, what he's talking about there, glorify, is also to highly esteem, to put in the place of honor, to validate, him and the mission he came for, which was to rescue sinners. And there is a part of him that is even saying that for those who will believe. There is a glory in what he did at the cross that we rest in that glory. Had that not happened, had he not been glorified in the cross, we have no means of salvation. So it is, even in that, it is for us in a way. Not the glory, but the fact that God recognized him and accepted his sacrifice at the cross on behalf of all men. We definitely want that to happen, or we have no means of salvation.
Yes, and part of the glory is, so you mentioned this in your sermon, part of the, like, how is it glorifying to die on the cross? Like Philippians talks about it in the sense of, like, it is the most humiliating type of death that there could be, worse than any other type of death as far as that is concerned. But the glory is more about, like, his fulfilling his purpose
that's a good
in
way.
all of that. So that was, I know you talked about that on Sunday. I don't want to get into that too much, but it was good to bring up again because it could be a little bit confusing. I
read, first of all, that verse
100 times.
Like 100 times, and then I was in multiple commentaries just to see if I was getting my head around it right. It was hard to get a hold of. The whole prayer, it's deep water. Jesus talking to the Father, and the way he speaks is like, it is deep water. You can drown in it if you don't take your time.
And dude, and you could, like, I know you did five verses, but this we joked about being done in a few months. Like, this could be several.
Oh my goodness.
Several sermons, and might be. Who knows? Who knows where it's going to go? But okay. You had mentioned in the sermon this past weekend about getting out of the boat, referencing Peter. Jesus calls out to Peter, and so Peter literally gets out of the boat to follow Jesus, and gets to be a part of that story where he gets to walk on water. You had referenced yourself being one who wants to be that type of person who gets out of the boat. In the end, you mentioned the glory for him, not that you're doing it to just to behold his glory, not for your own glory.
The front row seat.
The front row seat.
Power.
Yeah. But I would imagine many are in, we all have different type of personalities. So somebody is in there going, well, that's you, Pastor. That's your personality that you would want to do that. I'm okay taking this back seat and seeing things happen from a distance. So would you say it is wrong to think that way? Should everybody want to get out of the boat? And is it sinful to not? I mean, you could use one of the disciples. We don't know exactly the conversation that was then to them. But for us, is it sinful to not want that?
Well, I know what you're saying. I mean, even in Peter's entire personality in the New Testament is more
brash,
forward, and abrasive and impulsive might be the word. Like another occasion, he jumps out of the boat after the resurrection and swims to shore. Like, he's just a maniac, And I understand that everyone should not aspire to be like that if that's not how you're built. There are more reserved people, and that is for a purpose. So I guess what I would say is you were made the way you are on purpose for a purpose. And I think we should be ready to get out of the boat in our context.
That's good. Yeah.
When God calls your number to serve him in the way that he's called you to serve him, you should wade through your fears and inhibitions and serve him and get out of the boat. It doesn't have to look like jumping literally out of the boat on the water to see if Jesus is truly the Son of God. I get that. But some people sit around and watch others serve the Lord too long, and that would be sinful, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put that in your own context, because, I'm sitting there listening to the sermon, and I ask myself, like, oh man, am I shying away from some of those opportunities or whatever? And then, you can make up well, my personality is different or whatever. But I think, the answer is like in the context, right? Are you sweeping things under the rug? Are you trying to not even deal with sin in your life or things that God is working on in your heart? Or
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, having a heart for the lost in a certain way, and I'm not saying all Christians don't.
Mm-hmm.
Others maybe more than others. I mean, the Bible speaks of he gave some. I was talking to two pastor friends of ours. I was talking to you about it this morning, the other night. And what's the Bible say? He gave some apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are different.
Totally.
It's not that everybody is only one of those things. I mean, I'm a shepherd. I can teach the Bible, as so can you. And but I have a heavy lean toward evangelism of the lost. Someone else may not. So I go, there's a lost person at the gym or something. And my goal is I'll go up and talk to them and end up in a conversation. And can we have coffee sometime and press them on their beliefs? That might horrify another Christian. I can't, though they would say, I cannot do it that way. Fine. What are you supposed to be doing?
Right.
That's the question. What are you supposed to be doing? If you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, then you're staying in your boat, and that's not good. You don't have to act like anybody else.
Yeah.
But you should be challenged by other people's obedience in their context and consider your own. How about that?
Yeah, I think that's real good. I think it's real good. And that is not to say, though, that it's 100% comfortable for you. Like there is something to be said for going, okay, I gotta do this because of my desire. So everybody has to. The get out of the boat thing is a little bit of taking a step of faith for anybody, no matter what their personality is, no matter what that conversation is or how that looks. I don't want that to be an excuse for people to go, oh, great, I never have to talk to anybody ever. That's just his personality. Yeah, we all
definitely wrong. Yeah,
we all have to have, stepping out of our comfort zone. And it's weird because you can look back at times and go, man, I was so nervous to do that. But I swear to you, like looking back, it's like God seems to use and work in our lives when you do that. Like you look back and go, man, I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to give this to go. I'm going to step out on faith. And you see God do some things in several areas of our life.
The cool thing is, I think you're void of pride in those moments. Like when you're in your comfort zone, you could be operating out of some level of hidden pride in your heart. Like, oh, I got this. I'm good at this. I'm comfortable here. I'm confident that this is going to go well, whatever it may be. When you step out of your comfort zone, you have to rely on the Lord because you're like, well, if something good happens, God did it because you were scared to death and thought you were inadequate to do it, which is a good place to be, I think.
Right.
We're like, wow, I can't believe all that happened. I thought it was going to be terrible. I was scared to death, and God did it anyway.
Yeah. We've talked about this, guys, that we have that we're trying to help disciple and let them teach in different areas and things like this. And we've all had this, still have this in different areas. And when we ask somebody to speak, specifically on a weekend service, the terror in their, I mean, it's
holy,
I don't know how else to call it.
Terror.
And their week is destroyed.
Yeah. Like they can't work. They're spaced out at home. They can't work.
Can't sleep, can't work. And it's just like all focus is on that. You and I know, we know what that feels like. But what was my point with all this was just that.
Get out of the boat.
Yeah.
Whatever you are.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not always comfortable because even though, man, literally, I'm getting off topic here now. Public speaking was.
I was just going to bring this up.
My number one, I mentioned this in a sermon.
We had the same class
back.
in college. People do not know this. More personal.
Yeah, that's true.
You and I had a speech class in college. And it was horrifying.
It was I would have rather had 10 spiders crawl on my arm than speak in front of 10 people.
Horrifying. And the thing is, people probably think that I'm like preacher guy, and it's probably easy for you. No, it wasn't, and it was super hard. And honestly, it was a small class of our peers in college. I'm about to make a statement.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
It may be one of the most horrifying public speaking scenarios we've ever faced in our life. That particular class, because what's worse? Like, I'm not comfortable in myself yet. I'm not a mature man. I'm not married. So you got girls in the class you're worried about impressing. You got guys judging you.
And some that are friends that are back there giggling.
You got to walk out of that class having given a speech onto the sidewalk with your peers that are in the cafeteria that were just in the class. It was crazy, man. I remember. It was, how many classes do you remember in college? Not very many. Like not very many. I know. Class every class, moment after. I don't remember any professors hardly. But, dude, I remember sitting, I can see the room in my mind giving a speech in that class going, I guess all that to say, it is a well-documented answer to a question that people fear public speaking more than dying.
More than dying, yeah.
Like the process of it. They fear it more. They'd rather face death.
I don't know if you remember this point. Do you remember when I had to give my first speech and I looked over at you? I'm not a sweater. I don't sweat normally.
I wasn't going to bring it up if you did.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. I don't sweat that much normally. I looked over at you. It was like 2 minutes before my speech. I looked over and I had pit stains from here all the way down.
And it wasn't hot in there.
No. It was straight nerves. I mean, like through the shirt, and I'm like, dude, check this out. You were like, what is?
You were like shaking, gone, sweating.
My goodness!
It was bad, man. It's hard. It's still hard. It's still hard on a Sunday morning.
Hard.
It's still hard. It's not. I wouldn't say that. There's a whole other thing about that.
Yeah.
Working and all that. We can't waste time, but it was really hard. So yeah, guys stepping out of the boat to speak to go full circle are horrified. God bless those guys because God called them to do it.
Yeah.
And they're giving it a shot.
Anywho, everybody might not be a public speaker, but
no,
I think there is a challenge for all of us spiritually to step out of our boat and figure out what that is. So we wasted a lot of time today. Some of it was good. I'm going to hit one last question if we can do this for a couple minutes. There's so many in here. Let's talk about this. What the ambassador for Christ, because I think the word probably would mean representative.
Yeah.
Like you talk about ambassadors in another country, like you're going to represent your country to leaders or whoever it would be. So I know you can go anywhere with this just in a couple minutes. Talk about what an ambassador, what should that mentality be to go, okay, I'm an ambassador for Christ. What does that actually mean?
Well, I said it in the message. I think in simplistic terms sometimes. I think our lives are supposed to be a signpost that points to Jesus. People see you, they encounter you, they listen to you, they interact with your life. It should not take very long where they are pointed to Jesus. They see Jesus because of you. Drive down a highway, where's my exit? Big sign over the highway, big green and white sign.
Yeah.
Your exit 2 miles ahead. Yeah. Oh, good. And so now I'm looking for that.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be that sign. Yeah. That representative of Jesus Christ to come.
And not everybody takes the exit, right?
No, they don't.
It's not our job to say you must exit.
No, we don't control the results at all.
Right.
We point and they know.
Yeah.
And if they don't know, we're not doing a very good job.
Yeah.
I guess. So, I think about it. Even right now, I think about, people in my life that, you suspect may be lost. Do they see Jesus in me? Do they know? Do they know that I follow Christ? When they interact with me, do they catch a vibe? Like, is there something different and peculiar about me that the world does not have? You got to ask that question.
Yep. All right, real quick. Was there anything, what stuck out from you personally from this past weekend's message?
Yeah. I really, the cross, I really was stirred by, he was the giver of eternal life, Jesus, and the cross is the means by which that happened. And I wanted to, people just wear a cross around their neck or, see it in a church or something. I feel like I'm going to sneeze.
Oh, no.
Wow, that was a lot of pressure. That's hard. Sorry, everybody. And I wanted to give context. Like, I don't think people realize the many things that were happening at the cross and the application that has to our soul. Yeah. And it really stuck out to me.
The worst thing in the world's not sneezing when it's about to come.
I thought that might happen. That was going to be a real letdown.
Yeah. All right. Oh, much more to come in the following weeks. We are glad to be back. But as always, don't take our word for it being his. We will see you next time on the Encore.